Niddah Daf non Aleph. If a kosher bird dies, nivlas oif tahar, there are two types of tumas it can create: a tumah chamura and a tumah kala. If one were to swallow it, the beis habliya, it's a tumah chamura, meaning it's metama the person and his clothing. Very strong tumah. You could also take that kosher dead bird and have it touch another food, and that food becomes tumah. That's a tumah kala, food to food. Says Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri, if the tumah chamura happens automatically without any intent, without any intervention from the person to think a machshava that it's food, so certainly the tumah kala should work automatically. You don't have to have intent of machshava, and therefore he argues on chacham. So they tell him a very interesting lashon. Tumah chamura eino yeredes bekach. What is this supposed to mean? Tumah chamura doesn't go down like this. So the Gemara brings three pshatim, and we go with the final pshat. Rabbi's first pshat is that tumah chamura cannot create the same tumah. In other words, if I make a person tamei, that person cannot make another person tamei. A person becomes a rishon l'tumah when he becomes tamei. A rishon cannot make another human being tamei. Yet when it comes to food, the first food becomes a rishon. A rishon can make another food a sheni, where that sheni can make truma tamei. Midrabanan. So you find the concept of tumah, one food making another food tamei, and therefore, says Rava, it's different than tumah chamura, than tumah beis habliya. Says Abaye, the opposite. If so, then you said that the tumah kala is in fact a tumah chamura. It has something that the tumah chamura doesn't have. Therefore, says Rav Sheshes, the pshat is that by tumah chamura, if you want to make this tumah, this bird, able to be metama another food, you don't need a hechsher tumah. You don't need a sheretz to touch it. Any other food, an apple, in order for it to become tamei, first you have to be machsher with water, and then you have a sheretz touch it, or some tumah touch it. Over here you don't need the sheretz, but you do need water. Says the Gemara, that's not true. How do I know that I don't need the sheretz? Because it's a seifa lavidei tumah chamura. This bird, at the end of the day, if somebody were to eat it, it can create a really strong tumah. Therefore, you don't need the sheretz. For the same reason, you should need water, you should need one of the liquids to be machsher. Finally, he says, Rava, the pshat is that we never find an entire shas, a tumah chamura, a tumah that could make a person and kalim tamei, where you need intent, you need a machshava. But we do find in shas, perhaps not by a kosher dead bird, but we find in shas the concept where you need intent, you need machshava for food to make another food tamei. Says Rava, we were discussing yesterday ulshin, some say it's endives, any type of food that you plant that could be planted with the intent to have animals eat it, or humans, and you planted it for animals. Yesterday we learned that it's not metama tumas oichlin, unless you can't change it from animal to human. Says Rava, but you could change it from animal to human in order to be mechayev it in meiser. Says the Gemara, there are three spices, siya, ezoiv, and kurnis. If they grow in your front yard, they're chayev in meiser. Says Rava, the pshat is that a person planted it initially for animals, and then he changed his mind, he wanted it for humans, and therefore you're chayev in meiser. Says Rav Ashi, no, that's not what happened. What happened was they grew by themselves. Not that he changed it from animal to human, it grew by itself. And the Brisa says that if it's enclosed by front yard, it's mishtamer, it's protected, you're chayev in meiser. So food that's there just for flavor, any spices, herbs, etc., you don't eat it plain, you don't eat it direct, you just add it to other foods. They don't have tumas oichlin. And we find a Mishnah like that. In fact, this machlokes Rebbe Kiva says that meiser sheni money, you redeem your fruit and you make it into money, and you bring that money to Yerushalayim and you buy food, but only food. Rebbe Kiva says you're allowed to buy spices with it, because spices are somewhat food, but they're not metame. Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri says no, spices are not food at all, so you can't buy with meiser sheni money. The issue is that we have a Mishnah that says that sheves, which is dill, is chayiv and peah. And we know that anything is chayiv and peah is chayiv b'meiser. We had that in the Mishnah the other day. And anything that's chayiv b'meiser we had in the Mishnah is metamet tumas oichlin. So that means that sheves, dill, which is a spice, is tamei tumas oichlin. So why does Rava say that it's not tamei tumas oichlin? The Gemara answers that sheves is different than all other spices. Sheves is used in kutach. Kutach is a special, delicious food. It's made out of sour milk and moldy bread. And you put some dill in it. So therefore the dill is edible. It's not as a spice, it's part of the food, and therefore it's mekabel tumas oichlin. In fact, the Gemara says that all sheves is automatically for this kutach dip, and it's not a spice unless you otherwise say so specifically. Now, Rava says that ulshin are chai b'maiser, yet Rabbi Yochanan says that ulshin are not makabel tumah. What do we do with the Mishnah? The Mishnah says that everything that's chai b'maiser, that would mean that it's a food product, and foods are makabel tumah. Says the Gemara, a new pshat. When we say all these klalim, if you have A, you must have B, but if you have B, it doesn't necessarily mean you have A, etc. That theme, it means in general, in the min. So ulshin, they are makabel tumah usually. You do have to take meiser. Yes, there is a case that you planted it with intent to give it to your animal, then you change your mind to give it to a human being, then you don't have to, then it's not makabel tumah, it is chai b'meiser. But in general, and we see the same concept as the Gemara, Mishnah says on our daf, anything that's chayiv and reishis agez, when you shear a sheep, you have to take the wool, the first wool, and give it to a kohen. If you're chayiv and reishis agez, you're chayiv in the matnis kuna, zroya, l'choyayim v'keva. But not necessarily if you're chayiv zroya, l'choyayim v'keva, let's say by a cow, do you have to give its shearings to a kohen because a cow doesn't have wool. The question is, there is one case, if a sheep is a treifa, it's going to die within the next 12 months, you're chayiv to give reishis agez, but you're not chayiv to give zroya, l'choyayim v'keva. Is that a question to our klal? The answer is no. In the min, generally speaking, sheep, you must give the Zerel Chayim V'kev. Yes, you found one case of a treifa that you don't. Same thing if a person has a vineyard and he wants to get away from giving peya, leket, oilulus, meiser. So he's mafker his whole vineyard, and the next morning he takes it from hefker. The halacha is he has to give everything besides meiser. He even has to give peya, but meiser he doesn't have to give. The question is, anything that's chayv and meiser is chayv and peya. The answer is, you're right. That's a general rule, that's the min, and he found one case that's an exception to the rule. It says the Mishnah, anything that has a biur, you have to take it out of your house when the animals stop eating that particular food outside, the wild animals, so that food in your house must be mivur, you have to take it out of your house. Anything that has biur has halachas of shmita, and anything that has halachas of shmita, not necessarily does it have the halacha of biur. There's a food, perhaps it's called luf, perhaps it's leek, half of it is in the ground, half of it is out. So the half that's out, the animals eat, the half that's in the ground, you don't have this concept of when the wild animals finish eating, that you have to be mevared in your house. Any fish that has scales must have a fin, but not every fish that has a fin has scales. The reason why the Torah says scales and fins, even though all we need is the scales, lahagdil Torah v'yader, the Torah sometimes elaborates in order so people don't make a mistake and confuse the two. Any item that requires a bracha achreina requires a bracha beforehand, but not every item that requires a bracha before requires a bracha after. The Gemara brings vegetables, mitzvahs, and water. There are man amrim that say you must make a bracha after. Even on tefillin, when you take off your tefillin, you have to make a bracha according to some man amrim. So therefore, the Mishnah is coming to talk about a smell. So if you smell the samim, you make a bracha before. You don't make a bracha afterwards. Have a wonderful day.